Okay, today I interview Paul and Jono, and guys, how is the situation here after the apartheid between black people and white people?
Well, it's still pretty tense, but it's gotten better since the apartheid. But quite interestingly enough, black people are actually fighting against their own kind.
So yeah, my experience is that it really depends where you are, especially. So if you are in somewhere where there are like the concentration of the local people is higher and they're not really exposed to white people on a daily basis, then there will be more, they'll have like more reservations. Whereas if you're in somewhere like a city, then there's like not really much tension. So there's always a little bit of underlying tension, but there's a lot of civil behavior and people will treat each other like equally. So I think it has improved a lot. But obviously there are some instances where there'll be protests, and in those instances then obviously the preconceptions or the attitudes of the past will flare up.
So it's just because people are uneducated.
Yeah. Well, I also think it's just part of like the human condition. So humans in general, will have prejudice, and so in those instances where there's a lot of tension or duress, then that'll come to the fore, or it'll be exposed or brought to the surface. So that's my experience.
Mm.
And we also have the situation with the farmers, where the black people kill the farmers because they don't like the boer. The boer is like a Afrikaans South African, right?
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
So that's generally like, that'll be in rural areas,
yeah.
Pastoral areas, whereas in urban areas, it's a lot less tension.
Mm. Yeah, I have been in the mall in the city, and it was pretty cool. Black and white people in the shops.
In general, it's not too bad. I think it's a lot better than what it used to be.
Yeah, no.
Although we weren't around in those days, it was a little bit before our time.
Yeah, we
the
were
apartheid days.
Maybe like so it was in 1994 that it changed. That's when apartheid was done away with, and we were 3 or 4 years old. So we don't really have memories from that time.
And there also have been instances of reverse racism with black against black, with the xenophobic attacks, and that, I think that was about 10 years ago. Right?
That's more recent. Yeah.
Yeah.
After 2000, for sure.
Yeah, when the immigrants come from the neighbouring countries, and then there's a lot of violence. They put burning tires on the people and they get burnt to death. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So that happened, I think, because there's a high unemployment rate in South Africa. So and then there's obviously a lot of competition, and so if there's immigrants coming into the country and they are getting jobs that the locals would want, then there's obviously a lot of tension,
yeah.
and that results in like protests and often violence. Like I remember a guy being stabbed, one of the immigrants. So that's obviously something that's what we remember. But generally, I think it's more peaceful.
Yeah, and also recently the situation with the universities.
Yeah.
And the black people were protesting.
But that's like, that almost seemed like it followed an international trend, because I think that started in Europe with fees must fall.
Everything must fall.
Lists,
the four lists.
Yeah.
That's actually what I meant by some of the people are uneducated. They just don't know better. Yeah. And well, there's not really much else to say on this topic.
Okay, thank you guys.
Yeah.